A nice report there. For more on how technology has changed people's way of living in China, we're now bringing back in Sean Ding, the co-founder and CEO of G-Risk. Lovely report there. Ta-da! You can do anything on your WeChat Pay or Alipay. I've used it myself. Innovation is obviously really important when it comes to China's export of services around the world. How's this ramping up?
I think for innovation in technology, as we just saw in the clip, China is really a playground that any technology company can only dream for, because it has such a big population and so many young people willing to adapt, willing to use and test out new technology, perhaps with also, at this stage, less concern about how the data is going to be used, because the Chinese government is still very strong-handed in terms of controlling the data, making sure that it's stored within China. So you have a lot of that control mechanisms in place. So
yeah, there's also a sort of a digital curtain, in a way, between how things work in China and how they work elsewhere. That report mentioned that people don't use QR codes here to pay that often. How does China innovation get rolled out in different markets?
I think you're already seeing it in a lot of Chinese innovation being rolled out to markets such as Africa and Latin America. Chinese apps, payment apps, and also operating systems, cell phones, hardware, they're being adapted very broadly in African markets and Latin America. That's without a question. But as you mentioned, how do we really reconcile in terms of the user behavior when people are not so used to using QR codes to make payments? Visit China, how do they get set up in the first place? So there is a little bit of a hurdle and burden there. So that's also something that I think technology companies and the government should be thinking about to make the technology a more seamless and truly global experience.
Yeah, what about AI, 5G, all the buzzwords that we know are coming down the pipe?
Well, for China, of course, take 5G, for example. It is the largest market for commercialization. The Chinese government just gave out licenses to China's mobile carriers for 5G back in June, and the commercialization has already started in November. But of course, 5G is not just about downloading movies faster or playing games faster. It's also about autonomous vehicles, about healthcare, about Internet of Things. So even in your cell phone, you still have to have the kind of content, the virtual reality content, or the games that would really benefit from 5G. So although the market is huge and there's a lot of potential for application and commercialization, exactly where this is headed and how much innovation China can actually drive, I think we'll still have to wait and see.
In the market, what do you see now in terms of how it's going to change consumer behavior?
Well, we're already seeing a lot of new 5G phones, smartphones being rolled out by Chinese smartphone manufacturers such as Huawei, and people are buying them. Huawei has recorded, I think, unprecedented sales numbers in terms of its 5G phones, and this will change how people communicate, how they spend their time, how they are downloading or consuming content. So the implication is broad, and as I said earlier, China really provides that playground for a lot of these new technologies to be tested out, to be adapted, and potentially be improved.
Dawn of a new age. Sean Ding, thanks so much. Really appreciate your insights.